Mark, where to begin? The recovery, such as it was, nascent at best, seems to have come to an end.
Yeah, it sure does. You know, we opened the businesses here too quickly. It reignited the virus. The pandemic is raging in many parts of the country. So governors in many states are now pulling back and pausing on their reopenings. That means less hiring. And layoffs are picking up again. And I suspect that when we get the July jobs number, we're going to see a pretty sizable loss in jobs. So we had 2 months of job gains, May and June, but that's all over. And now some job losses, and unemployment is going to head higher. We're at a 12% unemployment rate already. That seems to be going higher. So we are definitely moving in the wrong direction here.
Now, you say that when it comes to a stimulus package, the Republicans are around about $1 trillion at the moment, but you say you need $1.4 trillion to avoid a double dip or a W shape outlook or recession. $1.4 trillion is a vast amount at this stage in the pandemic.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't think $1 trillion is going to cut it. $1.4 trillion is the minimum that would be necessary to avoid going back into recession. And that assumes that you get pretty good package of support, you know, things like help for state and local governments that are hemorrhaging red ink and cutting employment, more help for unemployed workers, more food assistance and other income support. You know, it has to be the right kind of package. So if I were king for the day, Richard, I would have a much bigger package, probably something closer to $2 trillion. And just for context, all of the support so far provided by Congress and the administration comes to $2.4 trillion. So, you know, we need a pretty big package to avoid recession, I think, at this point.
Okay, but at this level, I mean, you're not showing any concern, as some are, some economists and certainly some lawmakers, about the size of the deficit. You still believe that the economy is precarious enough that spend.
Well, I'm very concerned about deficits and debt, but I don't think we have a choice. You know, if we don't support the economy, we go back into recession, our deficits and debt are going to be even larger. So we have a Hobson's choice. You know, there's no good choice. The best of all the bad choices is to really step up here and make sure this economy doesn't slip away in the face of this intensifying pandemic. We have really no options here.
And you do say, just to finally, that if we don't get this, then your worry is the economy suffers more structural, long-term damage. How far are we away from structural, long-term damage?
Well, it's already happening. I mean, we're seeing massive failures of small businesses and business bankruptcies. I mean, bankruptcies of large companies are as high as they were at the peak of the financial crisis back a little over a decade ago. So that structural damage is already occurring. And obviously, you mentioned the deficits and debt. That's another form of structural damage that we're going to have to deal with on the other side of this pandemic at some point in time. So it's already mounting. And it does mean that even when the pandemic is over, even when we get that vaccine and it's adopted and widely distributed and we're off and running again, it's going to be a long time before we get back to something we all feel comfortable with.
Mark, I'm always grateful that you give us time and talk to us and give us your insight and experience. Thank you, sir.